Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cripple Connection Podcast. My name is Cody Lashing. I am joined, as always, once again by my partner in Cripple Crime. It's my brother, Jeffrey Redmond. Jeffrey, what's up, dude?
Not much, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, and you and I, we've been kind of struggling with this one because, let's be frank, man, it's kind of a dead time. There's really not a whole lot to talk about and a whole lot to discuss. Originally, this was going to be a podcast of us reacting to the newest Sony press conference, which was moved to this next Thursday. So,
Right.
yeah, we will, of course, we're going to discuss that when the time comes. And we're going to make sure that we discuss all the latest and greatest news, and we'll try and find something to talk about today. We might even live stream that. Me and Jeffrey were talking about maybe doing a live reaction to Sony's press conference this Thursday. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about the future of video game consoles, and again, we're in the last few months of the final death knell of these consoles that we've been playing for the past 5 years. So if you're a fan of what we're doing here, hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to get updates when we go live. Jeffrey, let's talk about some news first, man.
Okay.
Well, first off, no, let's do this. You've been playing Fire Emblem. You've been trying to get that done before The Last of Us 2 comes out. How's that been working for you?
First of all, correction, Xenoblade Chronicles.
Right, Xenoblade Chronicles. Right. What did I say?
You said Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem. Yeah.
I'm actually multitasking. I'm doing several games at once. Fire Emblem is one of the things that I'm trying to do. But yeah, Xenoblade, I believe, is near its end. But every time I keep saying that, more shit pops up. So,
right.
Who knows? But I'm telling you right now, and I know I mentioned this last time in our last podcast about this, but Xenoblade's a hell of a game, man. Story-wise, it's probably one of the best RPGs I've ever played. And that's a very bold statement, I know. But it has so much. There's philosophy, there's racism, there's religion, there's all these different things that it tackles, and it doesn't look like it from the outset, but if you're into like just overall like humanity and what it means to be human and all the flaws that we have and fate and destiny and all that bullshit, you definitely need to get this game a shot, because
it's definitely something I've been wanting to play for a long time. I do not have a Nintendo Wii, and it's something that I would probably end up getting it for if I ever did, or a Switch rather.
Well, if nothing else, just watch the cutscenes, because basically once you understand the combat, it really doesn't evolve anywhere from there. But if you're a story guy like I am, this is definitely a game to watch at the very least.
So let me interrupt you for a minute. Am I showing up live on your thing? Because it says that we're recording. It says that we're live, but I do not see a video.
Yeah, I ran into this problem last time, and your video showed up, but it never showed that you were live the whole time. And then when Tony was in the chat, I obviously couldn't see him because it didn't pull up.
It's not even bringing up my chat on my OBS. Well, whatever. If someone is in the chat, sorry. I don't know.
Yeah.
My YouTube has been really giving me weird things. Like, it seems like every week there's something new going on with my YouTube channel. But yeah, man, let's go over some of this gaming news real quick. Again, there's not a whole lot going on right now. And the reason why we titled this episode what we did is basically because in the coming weeks there's going to be so many different games dropping. But right now, there's really no news. So this isn't going to be a problem that we're going to have for very long, not having too much to talk about. But there are some things I did want to discuss. And Jeffrey, I just want to pat myself on the back a little bit because I'm a
Yeah.
self-aggrandizing asshole and I don't apologize for it. But I did call, and it was more in relation to The Last of Us,
Right.
but that the coronavirus pandemic, whatever you think or feel about it, was going to change the way that a lot of developers made video games
Okay. Yeah.
and went about their content. And I saw the Resident Evil creator say that his future games will be inspired by the coronavirus pandemic. And yeah, I just want to say I think I called that a little bit. Like
He,
you're going
he
to see
did.
a lot more developers play with the extremes of these scenarios that we've been going through. Um, Also, what a better game to do it than fucking Resident Evil, right?
Definitely, definitely. They kind of, well, four was kind of a stretch, but it was the it was the Las Plagas virus or whatever it was, which, despite its fantastical nature, in four I think was actually based on some kind of infectious parasite, if my memory serves. So like this isn't the first time that Resident Evil has kind of tried to dip their toes in something resembling some kind of semblance of reality. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And of course, this is nothing new for zombie fiction in general. I remember when H1N1 was still a thing. Um, I was reading this book called Zombie Fallout, and it was basically if H1N1 got out of control, it became zombie-like. So,
Right.
I mean, zombies just lend themselves to infection, obviously, of any kind. So, yeah, this is only going to bolster um, the the Resident Evil thing. I think they could do some very interesting stuff with this. I can't wait to see what they end up doing.
Yeah. 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 It's just again, man. I feel like the start of this year is going to change the way that we do a lot of things for a long time
Yeah,
to come.
definitely.
Yes, and it's again, I was more talking about it in terms of The Last of Us and just how that pandemic that everybody's been through, is going to kind of change the way that you see and play The Last of Us. And I did want to shout out this news story too. The UK government could reclassify loot boxes as gambling, which thank God, dude. All these loot
Yeah,
boxes that you see, man, like, dude, it's practically theft. Like,
it is.
yeah, trying to. I could do a whole podcast on how bullshit it is.
And maybe we should eventually.
Yeah,
Um,
right. That
but
we might need to.
but I can tell you, it's been going on for longer than I had even known. But basically, it started with EA, and I it wasn't FIFA that started it. It was one of their soccer games essentially, and it just caught like wildfire, and it's been going on in just about every game ever since. In fact, a lot of these games now are going free to play, but then you have to get loot boxes and get items, and
Right.
holy god.
Yeah, buy
So it's good.
skins and clothes and shit for your guns and weapons.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, and see, that's the problem, though. Even if this all gets shut down, they're still going to find some bullshit way to make money. So
Yeah.
I you know, I, I'm glad that the governments are cutting down on it. I wish they would do it here in the U.S. I know it would kill a lot of games. Um, I was a big proponent of Overwatch for a long time, and that's how they make the majority of their stuff is is loot boxes and paying for those.
Right.
Um, Truthfully, I personally don't have a problem with loot boxes as long as it's a cosmetic thing. Like if it's
Right.
completely cosmetic, I don't have a problem. But I remember I was playing Star Wars Battlefront 2, and originally, now they have changed the system since then. This is EA again, so you know how they go. But
Yeah.
originally, you could only get like certain power ups, which were called star cards, through through the loot crates, and you could get like ridiculously overpowered just by spending real world money.
Yeah.
Um,
I just
I
hate the whole
know.
notion of pay to play in general.
Yeah, me
You
too.
know,
I do too.
if it's something where you know, if it gives you upgrades and character buffs, and I think most
Yeah,
game companies have seen that it's not a good look. It's not a way to get a lot of credit with
right.
your fan base when you do that. And again, it's not free to play. You know, it's free to
Yeah,
play, but it costs to win, or it
yeah,
costs to
yeah.
actually be
That's a good
good.
way to put it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
exactly.
great way to
And
put it.
it's yeah, it's you know, and I do think it hasn't gotten to be as big of a problem as you know, a lot of people kind of thought that it was going to be. There's definitely been some crazy hullabaloo stories with
Oh yeah, yeah.
EA, and
EA
I know
especially.
Battlefront was a huge one that
Oh,
had a
gee,
ton of
yeah. Mm.
news surrounding their loot boxes and how they handled that. You would know about that one better than I would.
Yeah, that got like I said, that's actually what I was talking about. But it got changed. They basically did away with that entirely, and I think the only thing now is cosmetics, like I said, which should be, but originally it was ridiculous. And I think uh, any Star Wars fan wants to play as Darth Vader. Well, Darth Vader was behind a like 600,000 credit uh, paywall essentially, which made it almost nearly impossible to play as him unless you played for like 20 hours
Right,
straight.
so it
And
was
then,
basically saying if you want to
yeah,
play Darth Vader and you don't want to do a bunch of crazy shit and waste all your
you gotta
time
buy him.
just to play
Yeah,
him for a few hours, you're gonna buy Darth Vader. And it's
yeah,
bullshit. And these fucking companies know that it's bullshit. And it sucks and they all suck.
yeah,
Dude. Um, yeah, man, but I'm happy that countries are starting to be like, okay,
yeah. Oh,
you
definitely.
need to fucking roll it back a little bit. You're kind of getting greedy
Mhm.
here, you bastards. Now, if only they would do that with, we've talked about this a little bit too, um, pre-ordering stuff to
Oh,
get shit.
Jesus.
Like you're spending more for a game that you're not guaranteed to like. And you know, I'm actually interested with you. Like, would you find
Oh,
that?
I'm guilty of this
Well,
because
I
I do it
know,
all
and
the time.
that's why I wanted to pose this question to you. Like, do you find that more oftentimes than not, you're spending more money for games that you actually end up not liking?
Um, I
I tell you what,
yeah.
let's do this.
Oh,
Let's roll through a few of them. So
okay,
we'll go through some of the games that you pre-ordered, and you
okay,
tell me if the pre-order was worth it or not. Okay,
okay.
Death Strandings,
No,
not worth
hell
it.
to the
Okay.
no. You know what it gave me? I'm gonna tell you what it
Yeah,
gave
what
me.
was the pre-order?
It gave me okay. So in the game, you eventually get access to exosuits, which help you traverse the land or whatever. All the pre-order is a different colored exosuit. it's it's not even like it has better stats. It's just a different color. It's gold instead
Oh
of
my god.
metal. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man,
and
dude. See that to me, that's robbery. Like I don't
it
even
is.
under like. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So literally, it was just a gold exosuit, and it had the same stats as the standard one. And
Yeah.
the worst part of it is that thing gets replaced like not even an hour in.
Yeah.
So
It's
like,
yeah. It's just yeah. It's a
um,
ripoff, man. It's an absolute
really.
ripoff.
And then let's see
Okay,
what
so
else.
so what about Final Fantasy VII remake?
Oh, that was pointless as well, and I'll
No,
tell you
yeah.
why.
It was
So
basically just character, wasn't it?
so it was a few summons, but
Yeah.
the thing it gave you Cactor, it gave you Carbuncle, who is cute as fuck. He's like a little dog now. He's adorable. But like he's not worth it. Who else did it give me? There's a Chocobo chick instead of the Chocobo Mog. It's just a little tiny Chocobo chick.
Yeah.
Uh, and it gave me a mini soundtrack and a mini art book. Okay, which in itself would be cool, except usually when most games, I don't know if you know this, but digitally when you get a mini art book or a soundtrack or something, you can export it like to your PC, and
Yeah.
put it on other devices. You can't do that with Final Fantasy VII. It's locked to the PlayStation, and it's like its own little game. You know how they have the windows for like the
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
It shows up as its own little thing, and I'm like, okay, I can't even use this outside of it. And not only that, it's a mini soundtrack, so it's not even the whole soundtrack. So it's got like 7 songs on it.
Dude,
That's it.
I'm telling you, man. Like they try and they try and
Oh,
sweeten the deal, and they give you these little fucking tidbits, these little things here and there, just to get you to purchase the game, and then you don't
yeah,
really end up. I mean, I've actually been proud of myself. I stopped pre-ordering shit.
good. You
Dude,
should.
I think the
Because,
last time that I pre-ordered something might have been like Assassin's Creed Unity, or the one where they were in France, and I'm
yeah,
like,
that's
dude,
you.
never again, man.
Well, Unity was a terrible example of a starter game anyway, but
Yeah.
I digress about that. But and then most recently, I have pre-ordered The Last of Us Part Two, which I think gives me an avatar, which is the little picture that shows up beside your
Oh,
PlayStation game,
wow.
and it gave me a theme, a PlayStation theme, like a background desktop thing. Like that's a, there may be a few other things in there, but generally those are the two that stuck out to me. Um, so yeah, that's but theirs wasn't crazy expensive. I think it was only like an extra $10 or something. So it's not the most egregious thing I've paid for.
Right.
Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, pre-orders are bullshit, but somehow for some reason I still
I
keep
mean,
getting
like,
sucked back in.
if it was just like $5 or $10 for a little something extra, fine.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's normally like 20 to $25
Well,
extra, and
see, that's the
it's
thing.
just it's not worth that much more. And then
No,
what ends up
no.
happening is they get your sale before you've
Yeah,
ever had a chance to play it, read any reviews,
yeah,
whatever, and then it's like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and
And
see,
I'm sure that if we had anyone from the video game industry that actually works in the industry, they might be able to tell us. And I can imagine what some of the benefits of it actually are when you're
yeah, I
trying
mean,
to sell games and pay the people in
right.
house. But at the same time, it's just like it's more and more not worth it than they ever have
Uh,
been. I feel.
it's not, and I don't think they've ever really been worth it. I mean, other than being able to play the game, like because you can pre-install games so that like you can play them on midnight the day that it releases. I mean, if you're that big into a game, sure,
Right.
but like as far as the actual shit that you get from it, and Ubisoft is actually the worst, which is funny because you bring up Assassin's Creed. Uh, Recently, at least with what was it, Origins, and with Odyssey, there's a standard edition, there's a gold edition, and then there's the ultimate edition. And the ultimate edition is usually around $100 or more
Right.
upon its release. It's on sale now, obviously, because it's been out for a while. But like $100 for a game is just that's overkill to me. I don't care what you get. That's overkill. So
Well, I mean, I guess if you were getting one of those like figurines, like a limited edition, like if you're a collector and you're gonna put some shit on your shelf, that's one thing. But that's
but
also
yeah,
something tangible. Like that's
right.
like you're buying something.
But
It's
that's
not just gonna
the
be
physical
some dope.
edition,
Yeah.
So you got to buy the physical game. And for me personally, like having a disc and having to swap discs out is not
Sucks. Yeah.
it's not optimal for me. So
Yeah.
I never get the physical edition of the game. But yeah, I mean, if you're all into that stuff, getting statues and shit, that's awesome. Some of these are really greatly made. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that I could see, but I can't see it, any other way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't do it. It just seems more and more like a ripoff. So I try not to, but again, people kind of fall into a habit, and I guess it just depends on the game too.
yeah, it does.
And
It really
maybe,
does.
yeah, maybe just not doing it for every game, but the ones that you're really, really looking forward to and you want to have the full experience, or if you
Right.
have some kind of brand loyalty to Naughty Dog, yeah, then do that kind of thing. But I wanted to jump into this last little bit of news story
Sure.
before we have our broader discussion. Cyberpunk 2077 will not release for Google Stadia at launch, and this is going to kind of lead into our main discussion anyway. And I wanted us to continue to further these discussions about next gen consoles, but Google Stadia and a lot of these other mega corporations and companies have been trying to get into the video game market, and now they see their window to do so with streaming. So I mean, you were just talking about it. You don't buy physical copies of games
Right.
anymore. It's just far too convenient to make sure you have enough space on your system, and then you can download them. But now with Stadia, there's a few others that are escaping my name or escaping my brain right now. That now it's even promising even less than that, and even more ease of access by just being able to stream these video games. And I thought that was interesting in context of right now we're getting ready to move into yet another video game cycle. We're getting amped up about Sony's press conference next Thursday, whatever Microsoft is going to do. So we're still kind of living in a time period where it's still Sony versus Microsoft, and they've had such a large, and Nintendo of course, and they've had such a large share of the gaming market. Do you think that that's going to continue to last a lot longer, or are we going to see a lot more people deciding to stream games with Stadia and other companies that decide to get into it? I will say for Stadia, this is a bad stumbling block right out the gate, with Cyberpunk not being available when it launches.
Right. Well, I can't speak to Stadia specifically because I've never played one. However, I I personally think it could be the way of the future, but right now, I think it's too far into its infancy to really be a consistent thing. In order to really stream the games and get them at the best quality without a lot of lag and latency, you have to have one hell of an internet connection. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
talking I'm talking Ethernet at the very least, but you should probably have like some kind of, um, you probably need at least a gigabyte down worth of speed in order
Right.
to even process these games at a decent level. And at least right here where we are right now, like Google Fiber is not a thing here. So like, and the most you're going to get out of like Time Warner is like 500 megabits, and that's if you pay for a top of the line thing. So
Yeah,
I mean, you have to have the optimal setup. Now that stuff is going to come, eventually anyway. Right now 200 megabits is basically the standard now,
yeah.
whereas
Well, I
you
kind of
know,
feel like they were making it sound like that wouldn't matter as much. That even with like basic connections, like without these super souped up internet speeds, that you would be able to play these games without a lot of latency. Now,
but
again,
we
you and I have never played these,
right.
so we just don't know. It's hard to
But I
say.
have seen it. I have
Yeah,
seen it, and I've seen it. What happens in the barest of conditions, and let me tell you, it ain't pretty. I'm talking about like 2 frames a second ain't pretty, that
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Which, and I don't want to sound like I'm against this idea because if it works, I'm like hell yeah, go for it, do it that way. Um, but I don't know. Something just doesn't sit right with me about not actually like having the game um, on my hard drive. Because the other thing that they could potentially do at any point is pull the game, and suddenly you don't have access to it.
Right.
So like, and I remember this was a big deal with the Silent Hill playable teaser. Was they took it down from the store after the thing with Konami, and now you can't get anymore, which is why PS4s with that game still installed are like $700.
Right.
I'm shitting you not, but like that's my thing. It's like, yes, we're at the mercy of the digital retailer, but at least if I've got a game on my hard drive, I know it's there. Whereas I don't know. I'm like I said, it's still a whole new thing, and not to get too technical, but then you have to start worrying about bandwidth. Is there going to be enough bandwidth from these wherever they're storing the game in order to bring it to you? Because millions of people are accessing a server at once.
Yeah.
That's not going to go well.
Well, and I don't think that would be too much of a problem for them to start with, since the install base is going to be so low. And the problem is you have to convince people like me and you, who have spent the last 15 plus years playing on a specific brand of console, whatever that.
That's true, yeah.
So you have to. I mean, it really has to be worth it in order for me to even consider playing it on Stadia or whatever bullshit Amazon comes out with or whatever.
Well, and see, that's the other thing too, is you're having to work with a third party company, which means you're not going to get all those first party exclusives unless they randomly just try to, sign a deal with you, which doesn't make any sense because they're going to have their own platforms for this. Now, I will say that Sony is already trying this. They've got the PlayStation Now, where you can stream like older games from their older generations onto your PS4. I have not done that, so I can't speak to its quality. But I mean, Stadia isn't the only thing with their hands in this. But I will say that if we continue on this trend and a whole bunch of smaller companies start popping up, we're gonna have well, I don't know how far back in gaming history you go, but like when the Atari came out, there was a shit ton of other consoles that tried to be the Atari and failed miserably.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm seeing here. I'm envisioning all these companies. They get a good startup, but they only produce like 8 games and then they're out the window, kind of thing is the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little hesitant on all sides, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a lot to overthrow the heavyweights right now. Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo. And again, it's just because of what I said. A lot of it is that brand loyalty, and I already have ease of access to my current console. And if I'm going to spend money on something else, it's going to be, what I've been rewarded with playing the past, like I said, 10, 15 years of my life. But apparently Phil Spencer came out and said that people still have not seen the true limits and the true capability of what this next generation of game is actually going to be able to do. And that's crazy because it means that we haven't even scratched the surface of what kind of technology that we're dealing with here. Again, I'm no expert on the technical details of this, but I just imagine that if you're talking about something that extensive, it is going to be a little bit weird playing. I wonder how it would hold up playing such a large game from some server farm somewhere and you're just streaming it. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be kind of a conflict there or not, but I don't know. I am more. I feel like right now, especially, I would be more apprehensive about trying something new, about doing something different. I just I don't know. Maybe I'm just I don't want to leave my own comfort zone with that.
No, because it's kind of true. It's like my conversion from physical games to digital ones. I
Yeah.
used to get all physical games because I didn't believe in the digital revolution, and I didn't like the idea that I couldn't physically have my game. So
Right.
it took me quite some time to move over to the all digital. And yeah, there are drawbacks. Like you don't have a physical disc, like I was saying. So if something gets taken down or whatever, and you don't have it on your hard drive, you're fucked. But it's just ease of access. I think is the key to all this. And if that's their driving goal, then yeah, I think it's a worthwhile thing. But I think they're going to have a lot of problems down the pipeline if this becomes the norm. They won't have them right away, but they'll definitely have them later on.
Yeah, you're not going to be if you want to play shit right away, then you're going to be more incentivized to buy a tried and true console than
Yep.
experimenting with the streaming platform. So
Yeah.
basically, if you're listening to this and you don't know what Jeffrey and I are talking about, Google Stadia is going to allow you to play a video game that you're essentially streaming. So the
Oh
game,
yeah.
right? So the disc, the game is actually being run somewhere else, not at your house, and you're
Right.
playing it at a distance from a remote, from your location to the server farm, wherever that would end up being.
Mhm.
And again, like what you mentioned, it just comes down to convenience. I mean, yeah, you might like having a tangible copy of something, but if you want to play something, if you want to stay up until 12 o'clock at night, why stay in line at GameStop when you can just download it on your console and have it? It just becomes more accessible. So I think
Right.
over time, if these streaming platforms and devices are going to hold their own in this next generation of console cycle,
Mhm.
then they're really going to have to bring forth something similar. They're going to have to make their product more more accessible and just
Mhm.
easier and more convenient than vice versa. And I don't necessarily see how you do that right now.
Yeah, I don't either. But then again, I never thought Netflix would be a thing, and here
Yeah,
it is.
true.
Along with a whole bunch of other companies like Amazon Prime and Hulu that are doing just as well. So I know movies and TV shows are a whole different matter, and they're not as large as games are, but that just proves that some kind of database for these kinds of things can be done.
Yeah.
So originally I never thought we'd get a dial-up internet, and then we got cable, and then wireless came along, and you're like, holy shit. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the advancements of human technology never cease to amaze me. So I don't want to sound like I'm completely shitting on the idea, because, I mean, it very well could be possible, and I just have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But I think it's going to take time. And I think Stadia has the unfortunate case of like really trying to be the first one, and those are the ones that usually have it the roughest until it becomes the norm, and then they're okay. But
Right.
I, but then again, Google is a multi-billion-dollar company,
Yeah,
so
and
you know,
that's
uh,
something else that I'm glad that you mentioned. Like they have just a ridiculous number of resources to sink into this too.
I mean, they own the damn platform we're streaming on, so
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
They own everything, Jeffrey. Google is our new overlords, and I'm just here to accept it, dude. I'm not even trying to
so
fight it, bro.
no, I'm not harking on them either. I'm just saying, like, they have other avenues.
Oh
Even if
yeah.
the video game thing fails, they'll be
And
perfectly fine.
apparently Amazon is looking to get into this too.
Yeah, they've already released a game, their own little hero shooter. I forget what it's called. It looks like shit, so I ain't gonna bother. But um, they
Fuck that
they,
lame ass Amazon shit.
well, they're trying the whole Overwatch MOBA thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I even forget what the damn game's called. I probably should have brought it up, but yeah, they're doing their own thing. So it's
Yeah,
it's
and again,
it's
it's just
whatever.
those companies that are gonna have money to sink into it, and they're gonna be able
Yeah,
to. That like, it's not like a startup where they have to come out of the gate hot and make a ton of money.
no.
Like they can
Mhm.
let the product sit for a while and kind of watch the market trends ebb and flow, and see what they need to do to make it better. And again, that's what happens when you a part of these billion-dollar companies that can just make anything work.
Well, and that's the other thing too, and that's a small concession as well. Is Sony and Microsoft, they all make other shit too. So even if they all go under, like they've got their devices and other such things. So like these billion-dollar companies that are out here doing this first-party stuff, like they'll be fine regardless. It's the small developers I worry about, but
yeah, for sure,
whatever.
for sure. And I'm sure they had some bullshit about trying to be better with indie games too, and I'm sure that they have something that they're gonna try
Yeah.
and do for it. But um, we got a little more time to fill. Let's talk a little bit about what we're expecting from this Sony press conference coming up here on Thursday. So again, me and Jeffrey are going to try our best to live stream it actually
Yeah.
on Thursday, this Thursday. I believe it'll be at 4, but we'll check it out. If not, we're definitely going to be reacting to it on Friday. Which again, sorry for the late episode. Things had to be moved back, but we'll be back to our normal time on Friday. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what we're expecting from these consoles. And so again, I don't know what games they intend to show off and display, but
Right.
one of the things that I'm expecting to see is expanded capabilities for sharing stuff. So sharing, I
Yeah.
mean, you saw in Ghost of Tsushima how they're giving you the photographic modes that allow you to change the camera and do all these different things.
Yep.
And basically all that's to say that the share button on the PS4 has really kind of innovated the way that Sony's done a lot of things.
Definitely.
It works well. Now Microsoft has a button, a similar button to do stuff like that. I'm imagining that you're going to see a lot of them trying to double down and continue to make sharing your own content and making your
Right.
own content straight from your console a lot easier than it has been before. That's one of the
Right.
things I'm expecting to see.
Definitely. Because I mean, as it is right now, at least to the PS4, you can stream gameplay straight. I know a lot of startup YouTubers who are just streaming straight from their PS4. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it is possible. I do expect a lot more though. They have an editing software. It's called the Share Factory. I expect that to be a little bit more fleshed out because right now you can only do like basic shit that you could do like in Windows Movie Maker back in the day.
Yeah.
But now I think they're really gonna buckle down with that. I think you're right. I think sharing is gonna be the new thing. So definitely with that. I'm expecting. See, I don't know what kind of conference this is going to. Is this going to be like an overall thing, or is it going to be gameplay? Games, specific games, or are they going to do both? Like, we
Right.
don't really know what the intentions of this are. At least I don't at this present moment. So it
Yeah.
begs the question of what kind of thing is this going to be? Because Sony has already had like a tech conference. They had that some while ago that explained the internal workings of the PS4. And unless you're a hardcore nerd like I am, you're not even going to understand half of what was said.
Yeah.
But like my point is, they're not going to do that a second time. So I am curious to see, like, are they going to talk about the hardware itself, or are they going to talk about what we expect to see on the hardware, or both? So
Yeah.
I don't really know at this moment. I do expect them to talk about backwards compatibility. They put out a statement a little earlier that said that all games released on or after, I think it was June 13th, have to be certified backwards compatible. But we still haven't had any word on other titles. I'm assuming all the first party titles like God of War and all that stuff
Right.
are going to be playable. Ghost of Tsushima is coming out after the fact, so we know that's going to be playable. So I think all the first party stuff is fine, but I'm curious to see how how extensive backwards compatibility is, considering it wasn't in the PS4 at all.
Right.
So I am curious to see about that. We know that Sony is looking forward instead of backwards mostly because they've said it's up to the individual developer whether they want to make games for the current gen and the next gen, so PS4 and PS5, or if they want to move completely to the PS5 side. And it seems like that's what they're pushing people to do. They don't want to linger too far back into this console generation.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's a good or a bad decision. Now, at first I'm thinking it's good because, well, it it lets them focus on the power and what's necessary and you know making better games, better looking games, better running games, all that stuff. But it does beg the question of how is this transition period going to go?
Yeah.
Is it going to go smoothly, or are we just going to be dropped straight in? And I got a feeling we're going to be dropped
Well,
straight
and
in.
so that kind of okay. Let me pitch to you a very Las Vegas betting line here.
Okay.
I'm gonna set the over under. Do you think there are going to be more PS5 exclusives than the number that I'm about to mention, or is it going to be less? Okay, I'll set the number. So okay, so just so that way we're clarifying. I'm talking about games that are going to be showed that are
Right.
only available for the PlayStation 5 and are not backwards compatible. So I'm talking about games that are selling points for this
Okay.
console. Do you think that number is under or over 3?
Uh, Actually, I was going to say that three makes a pretty good middle ground.
Okay.
I would
So
imagine
then,
right
from a
at
Vegas standpoint, if you liked 3, then you would bet the under. You would
okay.
say, yeah,
I'll bet the under for that. I will. I think we're going to at least see three. Um, so I mean, these could come out, you know, much later down the line. Maybe we're just, given teasers or whatever. But I think we're going to see at least three exclusives, and it could be exclusives for series that we already have. I mean, it could be, the next Uncharted or the next fuck, the next Bloodborne for which would be awesome if they did. But
yeah,
that's dreaming on my part because I really liked Bloodborne. But that was I mean it could be any of these. So it doesn't even have to be a brand new IP. They could basically just show their intentions
yeah.
for the upcoming thing. So I'm thinking at least three. What are your thoughts?
I mean, things are so different now, man. Like I remember times when, like, before a new console was gonna come out, I would get excited about the games that I knew were in development or games that I haven't heard
Right.
from in a while. Like, dude, especially since Final Fantasy VII dropped, I'm not expecting to see another Final Fantasy title.
Right.
Metal Gear is no longer a thing. Devil May Cry released
True.
a thing recently. So it's like, really, I don't know how many big time sequels or remakes or whatever we're gonna see. I don't know what kind of continuations that we're gonna see. I'll make a bet on one game that I do think that we're going to see the first glimpse of, and
Okay.
I think we're going to see the next God of War. I think we're going to see something that's going to be a continuation of that Kratos story. And, because they made it seem like there was going to be multiple different worlds. You might visit, the Egyptian gods and Japanese
Yep.
gods.
Right.
And the most recent God of War 3, has been wrapped for a while. So
Right.
I'm hoping, I would say that I'm hoping on seeing a new God of War. And then other than that, like, I mean, unless they come with something shocking, like, I don't know what big game they could announce that they're working on right now that has name recognition, you know? So I'm thinking that there would probably have to be new IPs. Yeah,
Right.
I'm with you, man. I'm thinking I'd probably bet the under. I don't. And also, I want to mention this too. I'm not counting indie games either. So I'm
Right.
not talking
Right.
about. I'm talking AAA titles
Right.
that are exclusive for the PS5. I'll put the under at 3. Yeah, I'd bet the under. I
Yeah.
don't. You know.
It,
Did
is
you
there
feel like there's
anything
something that
specific?
you're expecting to see?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is there was there something you want to see, like something like it could even be completely out of left field. Is there anything like that you would really like to see for this?
Oh yeah, dude, I'd love to see another Jack and Daxter, but that's not
Yeah.
gonna happen because they're about to release The Last of Us. Like that's all. I'm imagining that's all Naughty Dog has
Oh
been
yeah,
up
that is
to.
Naughty Dog.
Um,
Yeah, true.
God of War. I would love another God of War.
Well, and we know that's coming based on
Yeah, that's
it
gonna
it
yeah.
won't it won't come for it might not even come for this conference, but it's going to come, considering how the last one ended, and the whole thing with Thor, and
Right.
what's his name, Atreus, little boy growing up and shit. So like we
Yeah.
know that shit's coming. Like no doubt that shit's coming. But like,
Oh yeah.
is there anything like? So you said Jack and Dexter, but is there like
Well,
anything
like I'm
like?
trying to run off the big titles that I love that I would want to see. I mean, now maybe they might show some working title teasers
Right,
or whatever, but like, there's no more Metal Gear Solid. That's not a thing
right,
anymore. Um, I don't get hyped about Call of Duties and shit like that.
true.
So again, I'm imagining that you'll see probably a game like, um, uh, you'll see God of War, and that's something that has a name value. You'll probably
Mhm.
see something like a brand new shooter or something that's
Yep.
exclusive to PlayStation 5.
Mhm.
I think you're going to see a lot of new IPs, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of the traditional heavyweights showing up or making an appearance. Like, I don't even know what that would be at this point.
Right. And that's kind of the thing. Like I'm racking my brain for like, I mean, unless they just like randomly threw. Well, no, because Crash Bandicoot is also Naughty Dog, so it's like,
Yeah,
God damn
yeah,
it.
dude. I mean, maybe
I mean,
I don't know.
you
I,
know,
but I don't know if I think I was more of a fan of Jack and Daxter than most people.
right,
Like I fucking
right.
loved that game. But um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe something from Insomniac, a new
I
Ratchet
want
and Clank or
something like
something.
I want something completely out of left field. Like, can we bring like Twisted Metal back or something?
Yes,
Like random
but yeah,
shit.
dude, but make it super cartoonish with all the
Right,
fucking
right.
original crazy bat, Sweet Tooth, Minion,
Yeah.
Axel, all the good ones. Oh, I'd be
I
so
I
down
want
for that.
something completely like that we're not expecting, because the one thing that's been failing to me personally, especially as the generations have gone on, is the shock value. Like
Yeah,
before, there was always like at least one big game where you're like, "Holy shit, I have to have that," or
yeah,
"Holy shit, where did that come from?" We
yeah.
really don't get that anymore. I mean, there are some games that impress me on a technical level, like I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk and Ghost of Tsushima, but like they didn't. I expect those kind of games now. I expect those big things now. I want something completely just off the wall patch shit. Where the hell did they get this from?
Yeah,
Kind of thing.
yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
But you know what I mean? It's like a lot of the new movies for me personally are off the table. Like
Yeah,
Square just released. Like there's gonna be nothing Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts. There's
true,
gonna be
true.
not. There's gonna be nothing Naughty Dog because they just released The Last of Us 2, or
Mhm.
they're about to release The Last of Us 2. Devil May Cry had a game come out recently, and I don't know that that's really a big needle mover nowadays anymore.
It's
Um,
not really,
yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And okay, there's probably gonna be like a bullshit racer of Forza. We know
Oh
that they're,
yeah,
we,
yeah.
I already saw one of the news stories that we didn't touch on was that they're working on a new Need for Speed. Burnout Studios is working on a new Need for Speed. So whatever that means. Again, but like you know what I'm saying? Like none of these are like, oh my god,
Yeah,
yeah. So, but I will say this: that does leave us in a good position, because that means that we're in a position to be surprised. Should they actually show some cool shit that we weren't
yeah,
expecting? You know, we're not really expecting a whole lot. So, um,
yeah.
you know, and I think it would be good to kind of come back and reference this and see how we feel before and after, because you know, right now we're in a position where you can knock our blocks off. You know, it's like,
Yeah. And
please
that's the other thing too,
surprise
and
us. Yeah,
that's why I'm actually kind of really excited about this being like a completely digital thing, is because Sony's last conference, like their last big conference that we actually streamed back on Twitch. What was it, a year ago now?
probably more. Yeah,
Like that was like the worst put together thing I had ever seen. There were
yep.
like, okay, they were showing The Last of Us Part Two. They were leading people out into a tent. They were, switching stages. It became the point where like the moderators were just talking and talking and talking. So hopefully, because this is an aphysical event, we won't have any of that bullshit. So
Yeah,
it'll be a more straightforward event, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So it'll be more interesting to watch, hopefully.
yeah. Hopefully, there's going to be gameplay.
Yeah,
Microsoft.
actual gameplay.
Yeah, actual gameplay of games that we're going to be able to play. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, Sony has an opportunity to surprise us and really make something cool happen. And we'll see what comes of it. But I think that about does it for our show today, man.
Yeah, it does. Wow.
Yeah, we still went about an hour. We're like 8 minutes short of an hour.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, for us trying to find literally anything to talk about. I
Nothing.
think,
Yeah.
I think we did a good enough job. But Jeffrey,
I think so.
go ahead and tell them how they can get after you, man.
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook and Twitter, Jeffrored, Jeffrored. And you can find me both ways. So yeah, just come and say hi.
And my name is Cody Lashley. You can find me at Twitter at CODYLAC. And you can hit me up about anything from video games to football to writing to anime. Whatever, man. If you want to bullshit with me, I'll bullshit with you. But that does it for another episode. Episode 9, in fact, of the...
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, our next episode, man, we're officially going to be in double digits of doing this, man.
Cool.
Yeah, so... That does it for today's episode, and until next time, peace and love.